Good evening. Call to order for La Mirada City Council meeting dated June 14th, 2022, 6:30 p.m. Call to order. Will you please join in the invocation by Pastor Javier Toyos from La Mirada Church of the Nazarene, and please remain standing for Boy Scout Troop 919 presentation of the colors.
Thank you. Heavenly Father, we come before you right now, and we just ask, Father, for guidance and wisdom for the council, Lord, and we ask a blessing over the city of La Mirada and over all the leadership of the city. So we just want to give you glory in everything that we do, and may we search for your will in all subjects, in all areas. And Father, we just thank you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Color guard, attention. Color guard, advance. Color guard, halt. Color guard, prepare to present the colors. Color guard, present the colors. All those in uniform, right hand salute. All those in civilian clothes, right hand over your heart. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. 2. Color guard, regroup. Color guard, forward march. Color guard, at ease.
Thank you. Please be seated. Thank you, Pastor Toyos of Boy Scout Troop 919. We appreciate you being here this evening. Roll call, please.
Councilmember DeRusse.
Here.
Councilmember Lewis.
Here.
Councilmember Estrega.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Otero.
Here.
Mayor Ng, absent.
Move to item 5.1, recognition of city recreation karate class students and instructors.
Before you get to that, Mr. Mayor, we'd like to ask the council to add one item to the agenda.
Yes.
The paperwork on that item is in front of you. This is, the staff is recommending purchase and sale settlement agreement approval for a portion of the property located at 15910 Valley View Avenue to settle an action in eminent domain, which is part of the acquisition of the necessary frontage for the street improvements there. There's a necessity that this be added. It requires immediate action because the City of Santa Fe Springs, which is a sponsor, is required to obtain the right-of-way or the right to possess all of the right-of-way in question in this case and in other cases with a timeline running out, which means, and if they don't do it within that timeline, in danger of receiving the grant funds that are going to pay for all of this. So staff wants to present this to you tonight for consideration so that doesn't happen. So ask the council to add by a motion, add the purchase and sale agreement for that portion of Valley View to the agenda as item, let's say 8.3 after the public hearings.
Okay.
Move additional agenda item.
Second. Have a motion, have a second.
Councilmember DeRusse.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Estrega.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Otero.
Aye.
Mayor Ng.
Okay, moving on. Thank you, Mr. City Attorney. Moving on to 5.1.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. This is the recognition of our city recreation class students and instructors, and our Community Services Director, Oliver Osuna, will be giving the staff report on this item.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. This evening, 2 students in the city's intermediate karate class, along with a coach and head teacher, are being recognized for their achievements at the USA Karate-sponsored 2022 USA Open and Junior International Cup. The City of La Mirada offers recreation and enrichment classes and activities offered by independent contract instructors who specialize in a variety of skills and areas of interest. Zen Bushido Kan, or ZBK Karate, was founded by Sensei Johnny Martinez with an emphasis on teaching children and adults discipline, self-confidence, and self-defense through karate with qualified instructors. ZBK Karate offers beginner, intermediate, and advanced level instruction of karate through the city as a contract recreation class. In April of 2022, the USA Karate-sponsored 2022 USA Open and Junior International Cup was held over 5 days in Las Vegas. The competitive tournament was open to karate students of all skill level and attracted more than 1,500 national and international competitors. 2 students from city recreation classes and their instructors traveled to Las Vegas to compete. Siblings Valerie Vasquez, age 9, and Edgar Vasquez, age 12, achieved a podium finish in their respective competition category and age division. Valerie Vasquez competed in the all 8 through 9-year-old beginner kumite division. Kumite, or combat, is where 2 competitors face off performing defensive and offensive techniques. Competitors use punches, kicks, or takedowns against their opponent. Valerie faced off against 4 competitors, winning 3 of 4 matches. Valerie earned a respectful second-place podium finish in her category and age division. Edgar competed in the 12 through 13 years of age and under beginner kata division. Kata, or forms, is the highly detailed movements consisting of dozens of sequences, which include punches, kicks, blocks, and breathing techniques. Competitors are scored on how well they demonstrate the correct form and posture when performing the sequence of movements. In a division of 14 competitors and 3 rounds of competition, Edgar earned an impressive second-place podium finish. Both Valerie and Edgar have received instruction and training from Sensei Johnny Martinez and Senpai Matthew Sowers. Matthew has been with ZBK Karate since 2006. He has competed both locally and nationally himself. When not competing, Matthew enjoys instructing both youth and adults and is dedicated to giving back to the community. Sensei Johnny Martinez has been studying karate since he was a teenager and represented Uruguay at the international level. Johnny has a passion for teaching and mentoring students. The classes he offers through the city's recreation brochure are popular with residents and aid in providing positive recreational opportunities for youth in the community. It is recommended the City Council recognize Sensei Johnny Martinez and Senpai Matthew Sowers of ZBK Karate and ZBK Karate students Valerie Vasquez and Edgar Vasquez for their achievements at the 2022 USA Open and Junior International Cup and present them with certificates of recognition.
Thank you very much. I'll start with Mr. Martinez and Mr. Sowers. Thank you very much for what you do. I know that by teaching these young men and women, it's more than just a discipline. You're teaching them about life. You're teaching them about discipline, self-discipline. You're teaching them about self-control, and I know it's going to go a long way with them. So I'd like to present you these, and we'll take a picture later on, but tell by your name tags. Thank you. Also, I want to ask you a question. I want to ask the siblings a question. Valerie, why'd you laugh when you said siblings? Is there something you want to share with us? Or are you sure? You're not shy. You're smiling. Where's mom and dad? Stand up, mom and dad. Where are you? They give the parents a round of applause too. Because I know this is not easy. You guys found this through the community services, through our La Mirada Living, correct? Yeah. My son, we have the same story. My son has black belt Taekwondo by Master Kim, just over by Little Caesars is at. I think he did it when he was like 12 years old. He finished. Started when he was 6 and he was 12. So I know what it is to take them. I know what it is to sit there. I know what it is to participate and be there. And we know it's not possible without you. wanting to have your children developed and this and the ways and so forth. Now on to your children. So you're lucky Mayor Ames not here, because he probably challenged everyone to a fight right now. He take his shirt off, and he wears no socks, so he kicks his feet off, his shoes, and he's ready to go. So good thing he's not here, because I'm not going to do that. Too old for that. But Valerie, congratulations. What was it like to compete? Were you nervous or scared at all? Be honest. Why are you nervous? You did pretty well, didn't you? You feel confident now? You don't feel confident? We'll work on that. Congratulations. There's this. And of course, I'm into Edgar. Why are you smiling? How come she laughed when she had siblings and you didn't laugh? Yeah, you did a better job than he did. Congratulations. How did you feel about your competition? Is that your first competition of that nature? No. How many have you been?
I think 4 or 3.
Let's go with 4. Sound good? Congratulations on your accomplishment. I'll tell you both right now, feeling nervous or feeling scared, feeling nervous and sure, it means you're alive. And if you feel nervous, that means you have a will. It's perfectly natural. It's overcoming that. I think you both did. I think you're going to do a fantastic job next time. Remember, just protect this, because Mama wants to give us a kiss every time. She doesn't want to get hurt, right, Mama? Can't hurt that. So, thank you very much. Can we take a picture? Where's? Mom and Dad, want to come down for something with us real quick? Come on. Dad wearing a Cobra Kai t-shirt? Yeah. Ralph Macchio, come on over. Probably with all the stuff and down and hanging out there too. Thank you guys very much.
I have a quick question for Sensei. Sensei, can you tell us how realistic is wax on, wax off? Does that work?
No, boss, it's fun movies.
But you get your car waxed, right?
John. Okay, move on to public comment, an open public comment. Open now. If you wish to say something, please come forward. Identify yourself on the comment.
Vertically challenged. I got a pity white belt once, so they accomplished way more than I ever have. Good evening, City Council and City staff. My name is Anna Lee Castro. I represent the La Mirada Chamber of Commerce. We just wanted to acknowledge and thank Mayor Ed Ng and City Manager Jeff Boynton for all your support and insights for the Chamber at the last Service Club Summit Luncheon at the VFW. And in the last 30 days, the Chamber has welcomed 6 new members. Surf Pro La Mirada, Straight Talk Counseling, Yoshiharu Ramen, CBD American Shaman, Rio Hondo AJCC, Mobile Notary Public. Gold's Gym has also renewed their membership and will be assisting them with their celebrations on July 16th. Everyone's invited. June's monthly morning breakfast broke attendance records, and we're honored to have gubernatorial candidate Jenny Ray LaRue as our special speaker. Our goal of becoming more involved with the city service clubs continue with the upcoming Service Club Summit Luncheon, which will be held at the VFW again with our president, Tammy McDuff. And she was also honored to be asked to swear in the new 2022 and 2023 officers for La Mirada eBell. The Chamber is going to continue our coffee chats on the 3rd Tuesday of each month, and that's just an informal meeting to chat and catch up and to introduce various coffee shops to new members, as well as city residents. Moving forward, the chamber is going to be meeting with the president of Brea Chamber of Commerce, Heidi Gallegos, as well as with Steve Lee with Love La Mirada to discuss a Taste of La Mirada or the La Mirada Experience in 2023. Name is TBD. We just want to also welcome and congratulate the new captain, Christopher Johnson. The chamber is committed to helping local companies grow their businesses by taking lead in programs and efforts that will help create a strong community and local economy, keeping our community a great place to do business. So once again, the chamber thanks you all for your support as we grow and truly become the voice for the businesses in La Mirada. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Councilwoman. Anybody else? Public comment?
Good evening, council and city staff. My name is Allison Ortiz. I'm the library manager at La Mirada Library, and I just wanted to give you a few exciting updates what's going on in the library. It's summertime, and that means the Summer Discovery Program. So we have a reading and learning program for all ages, from babies all the way through adults. Customers who complete the program will receive a book, and they're eligible for additional prize drawings as well. We have in-person and virtual programs. Our in-person programs do have a capacity limit, and for children it's normally reached. They're pretty popular, so we encourage customers to register on our website a week prior, and all of the information is on our website. Second, the California State Library partnered with the California State Parks Department to make parks passes circulate at California libraries. So we have parks passes for our customers to check out. They're good for 3 weeks at over 200 California park locations. And more information about that is on our website. Again, that's another really popular program. They're not immediately available. There's a hold list, but if you're interested, I encourage you and our guests here, the public, to place a hold on their pass. And finally, as you know, we are a LA County library location. So if you have a card at La Mirada, that means your card is good at our other 84 locations. And I mention that because some of those locations are tool lending libraries, the closest being Norwalk. So Norwalk has a selection of power tools, hand tools, electrical tools, bike repair, gardening tools, sewing tools, baking tools, crafting tools, and a lot more. So libraries are not just for books, we are lending things. So if you have a card at La Mirada, just pop on over to Norwalk or give them a call and see what specific tools they offer that you can check out at Norwalk. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ortiz.
Hello, La Mirada Council. I'm not used to being here, but because now I've been representing the La Mirada Rotary Club as president for the last year, I wanted to just say a few things specifically to those as well in the cyber world that are watching. We have our meetings every second and fourth Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. at Northwoods Inn, so please feel free to join and make an informed decision if you'd like to become a Rotarian. Our motto is service before self. Also, we are also actively growing our memberships. We've more than doubled in the last year. Thank you for that, as well as the big 4th of July event is coming up, and we're going to have, of course, our fireworks stand booth as well. So if you could find it in your heart to possibly come by and help us out with that, it really goes to a lot of community events, you know, food for families, Easter, holiday season, etc. And the one thing I'll leave you with is that, without telegraphing it too much, there will be a La Mirada-centric pretty big event that we're planning in August at some point, but I don't want to give too many details. But it will be hitting the social media airwaves, and if you are inclined to want to be a part of it, please reach out to me via Messenger or however you wish. Thank you very much, and great job on everything with the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Public comment? Seeing none, we'll close. Move on to item number 7, consent calendar.
Move item 7.1 to 7.11.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
One second. Roll call.
Councilmember DeRusse?
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis?
Aye.
Councilmember Strega?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Otero?
Aye.
Mayor Eng absent.
I move to item 8, public hearing. 8.1, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. As the council is aware, this item comes before the council each year. It's approving a rate adjustment for refuse service and establishing residential and commercial refuse rates in the city. Our Public Works Manager, Marlon Munoz, will be giving the staff report on this public hearing item.
Thank you, Mr. City Manager. Mayor Pro Tem and members of the City Council. On July 1st, 2009, the city entered into a franchise agreement with Edco Waste and Recycling Services for the collection of refuse, recyclables, and green waste. Pursuant to the franchise agreement, Edco may submit an adjustment request for the billing period beginning July 1st, 2022. The request for adjustment may include increased costs to collect materials based on the Consumer Price Index, fuel for Edco's collection vehicles, and the disposal materials collected. The maximum annual increase allowed for residential and commercial service is capped at 3.5% for collection costs and 6% for disposal costs. On March 14, 2022, Edco submitted a letter requesting an adjustment of its residential and commercial rates. For the residential request, Edco is proposing an adjustment of 3.62%. Based on the pass-through of CPI fuel and disposal fee, and also includes a carryover disposal fees that exceeded the cap in prior years pursuant to the franchise agreement. For the commercial request, Edco is proposing an adjustment of 4.75%, also based on CPI fuel, processing of recyclable material, and disposal fees. The request also includes a carryover disposal fees from previous years. These adjustments result in an increase of $1.01 per month for a total of $28.87 for residential accounts and 61 cents per month for a total of $17.36 for senior accounts. For commercial accounts, a typical 3-yard bin serviced once a week would increase $9.64 per month for a total of $212.66. Staff has reviewed and verified the requested adjustment and supporting documentation. If approved, the new rates would become effective July 1st, 2022 for commercial accounts. For residential accounts, however, Edco has offered to defer implementation of this adjustment until July 1st, 2023 to help offset the economic impact of the SB 1383 Organics program, which began this year. Commercial accounts will receive an explanation of the rate adjustment in their July quarterly bill. Additionally, since 1995, the city has used mixed waste processing through a materials recovery facility as a source of creating diversion in the commercial and multifamily areas. With the passage of AB 341, which relates to recycling, and SB 1383, Cal Recycles is recommending cities cease mixed waste processing and utilize full source separation at the point of disposal, similar to the 3 container system used by single family residences. So after July 1st of this year, commercial multifamily accounts will receive a combination of trash, recycling, and organics bins and or carts depending on their waste stream. Edco staff will provide outreach services to determine the combination of bins and or carts that work best for each commercial and multifamily area based on their waste stream and physical storage capacity. The request for the rate adjustment and implementation of the organics collection was reviewed and discussed at the April 2022 study session. 45-day public hearing notice was published and duly posted, and to date, no comments have been received. I did want to point out in the audience, we do have President and CEO of Edco, Steve South, and General Manager Mark Perumian. With that, it's recommended the City Council conduct a public hearing as prescribed by law and adopt resolution number 2212 approving the proposed rate adjustment and establishing residential and commercial refuse rates in the City of La Mirada.
Thank you. Now moving forward with the public hearing. It's time for those in attendance to speak in favor and against. So we'll move forward with those who wish to speak in favor. Please approach and address the group. Seeing none, those against, approach the podium and speak. Okay, public comment on that will be closed. Now open for discussion and comments.
Move item 8.1.
Got a question real quick first? Councilman Lewis?
Yeah, we significantly looked at this at a study session, I believe, in April, and there was a lot more discussion on this about all the costs. We understand that the fuel costs are going up significantly for everyone, especially somebody who runs trucks all day long. And we know that we get also included in this service, we get street sweeping provided by Edco as well. So they're a great community partner with us. They're always coming out and providing events for shredding and other recycling events around here. So I don't think this is a huge increase, and it's just keeping up with the costs that have been passed on. So I would second the motion on that, and thank you guys for everything you're doing, especially the organics waste program that's coming through. That's something you missed in April. It was a long study session, but that's something to look at, what these guys have to do with regard to organics. So I'll second that motion.
Okay. Any other comments, questions? Okay, we have a first, second.
Councilmember DeRusse.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Strega.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Otero.
Aye.
Mayor Ing absent.
Okay, moving forward to public hearing 8.2, Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. As the council is aware, earlier this year we looked at potential revisions to the city's drive-through standards, and so that there's a number of standards that the city has within its codes that regulate drive-through uses that affect a number of businesses, restaurants, pharmacies, banks that all have drive-throughs as part of their business operations. So we have before you this evening an amendment to the municipal code and the Imperial Highway specific plan regarding drive-through uses, and we'll have Arturo Cervantes, our associate planner, give a staff report on the item.
Thank you, Jeff. Good evening, Council and Mayor Pro Tem. In 2008, the city adopted ordinance number 624, amending Chapter 21.20, commercial zoning districts of the zoning ordinance to include standards for drive-through facilities. The amendment created a new section titled Drive-Through Facility Standards, which included a series of requirements for any businesses proposing a drive-through aisle. The standards were further emphasized in the city's Imperial Highway specific plan. These standards have guided the development of all new drive-through businesses in the city while mitigating potential impacts to the community. The standards currently identify a number of requirements for new drive-through facilities, such as minimum queuing spaces, minimum menu board sizes, turn radius for drive aisles, and the placement of drive-through aisles. The city was recently approached by a developer that owns a parcel which is surrounded by public streets on 3 sides. The applicant or developer has proposed to construct 2 new detached buildings with a drive-through aisle for each on this site. The current guidelines do not allow for a facility to be designed in a manner that places the drive-through aisle between the building and the public streets. Since this site is surrounded by streets on 3 sides, the developer has had difficulty designing the site in a manner that both suits his future tenants' needs and the city's standards. The developer submitted a zoning code amendment request asking to modify the existing drive-through standards to allow for drive-through aisles, including ordering boxes and pickup windows to be located between the structure and the public street. The amendment request was presented to the City Council during a study session meeting on January 11, 2022. The Council was supportive of modifying the code to allow future developers with more flexibility when designing sites with drive-through aisles. The proposed amendment will remove the section that prohibits drive-through aisles from being placed between a structure and the public street, thereby allowing drive-through aisles to be parallel to a public right-of-way. The amendment includes language that would allow for flexibility for all sites within the city, not just a developer's site, while ensuring impacts to the community are mitigated. To reduce potential visual and noise impacts, staff has included language that would require 3-foot high block walls and landscaping along drive-through aisles that are adjacent to a public right-of-way. In instances where nearby residents may be impacted by headlight glare from vehicles in the drive-through aisle, the block wall height would be increased to 4 feet. Additionally, new drive-through facilities will need to be designed to accommodate sufficient on-site queuing to prevent overflow vehicles from impacting adjacent sidewalks or streets. A supplemental vehicle queuing analysis or study could be required on a case-by-case basis as part of future drive-through aisle proposals. This would help determine if the minimum stacking queue requirement should be increased. Further changes to both the La Mirada Municipal Code and Imperial Highway specific plan have been included with the goal of streamlining the code section and providing clear, centralized information for developers seeking to construct facilities with drive-through aisles. On April 21st, 2022, the Planning Commission reviewed the amendment being presented tonight and approved resolution number 0322, recommending that the City Council approve the amendment to the drive-through ordinance. In adopting the proposed zoning ordinance amendments, the City Council makes the following findings required by Section 21.120.040 of the La Mirada Municipal Code. Number 1, that the amendments are consistent with the goals, policies, and objectives of the general plan. that the amendment, number 2, that the amendment would not adversely affect surrounding properties, and number 3, that the amendments promote the public health, safety, and general welfare and serve the goals and purposes of Title 21 of the La Mirada Municipal Code. Finally, the proposed action is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, in accordance with the general rule that CEQA applies only to projects which have the potential for causing a significant effect on the environment. Where it can be seen with certainty that there is no possibility that the activity in question may have a significant effect on the environment, the activity is not subject to CEQA, per State Guidelines Section 15061B3. Given the information presented in the staff report and in tonight's hearing or presentation, it is recommended that the City Council conduct a public hearing as prescribed by law, affirm the CEQA exemption, and introduce for first reading ordinance number 723, amending section 21.20.055, drive-through facility standards of the La Mirada Municipal Code, and section 5.6.2, drive-through businesses of the Imperial Highway Specific Plan by title only, and waive further readings. This concludes staff's report. The applicant is here if there are any questions you'd like to direct their way.
Okay, now in time for the public hearing. Like once again, previously, I'll give a chance to those in favor to come up to the podium and speak, and those against. So let's have those in favor approach the podium and speak accordingly, please. Please identify yourself, sir, and before speaking.
Good evening, council members. My name is Tab Johnson. I represent the landlord of the property that's in question, but I've been working with staff a lot, and I really appreciate the hard work they've done in trying to, what we believe is bring the drive-through standards up to a little bit more standard, plus the idea that drive-throughs have just become a mainstay through this pandemic that we've gone through. We've all found out that they are extremely needed and extremely well received by the community, and we feel that allowing us to design something that works well with the property that we are all working on, and whether that's our property or any other property in the city of La Mirada, and removing some of these barriers that might cause a certain property not to be able to be developed because of the older code, we feel is significantly going to increase the competitiveness of the city of La Mirada to the cities around them in terms of attracting businesses that require these drive-through lanes. So we're wholeheartedly in favor of the passing of this amendment to the zoning code. We would like to bring up one issue that we've talked to staff a little bit about, and we probably are a little bit late with our discussions with staff, so that's why I'm here probably tonight, is we didn't understand that the city of La Mirada's zoning code restricts without any ability to obtain any type of a beer and wine license for a restaurant that has a drive-through. We feel that, again, is probably something that's been a holdover for a long time. A lot of restaurants are now serving beer and wine, even as the fast casual, and we would suggest that maybe at the time that we are improving the drive-through standards with the design layout, that maybe we can also allow there to be some sort of a allowance in the code to at least have an application for, and not an outright ban of beer and wine on the drive-through restaurant. So in that, I would ask that the City Council consider that. I'm not exactly sure of the mechanisms that would be required, if the City Council can add that to the reading of staff, or if they have to have staff go back and come up with some additional language. But we feel that there can be good, solid hurdles that a project would have to go through to make sure that we're not creating an over-proliferation, but I believe that's probably handled through the ABC and the police department already also. And I think just having this prohibition of beer and wine from a fast casual restaurant with a drive-through is probably something that's just, again, pre-pandemic, been around for a long time, and we would suggest and request that we have some leeway to allow a beer and wine application to go along with the CUP for the drive-throughs. Other than that, again, we thank staff a lot for the help they've given us, and we believe that the rewording of the drive-through design is doable and will also protect the citizens and the residences around the city of La Mirada. I'm here to answer any questions you might have, but my request would be to amend to allow a CUP to be applied for on beer and wine.
Councilman Lewis.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Do we have to finish?
Are you finished on public commission?
We have to finish.
Did you close the public hearing?
Anyone against?
Anyone? Mr. Johnson, thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. I'm sure the amendment could be dealt with or talked about at a later time.
Okay.
Be separate item.
Separate item, absolutely. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else in favor to speak? Anyone against? Okay, public comment is closed on this. Okay, now for questions or issues, concerns. Anyone in the dais? Councilman Lewis, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I think there's a few issues on this one. I think correct me if I'm not wrong, I think we can't add an amendment at this point, and I think a beer and wine amendment would have to go through the Planning Commission anyway, because they're the ones who grant the CUPs for beer and wine anyway.
Would take another amendment to the code.
Right, an amendment to the code and then a Planning Commission
And the
hearing.
CUP, probably.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't think we can take that up here today. But with regards to the dual lanes and the drive-throughs, I have followed up quite a bit on some restaurant magazines and the need for drive-throughs and double drive-throughs, and I think there's one in Oklahoma now, Taco Bell, that has 3 or 4 drive-throughs that they have one for you order and you pick it up, and they have another one for pre-orders that you pick it up. So pandemic-wise, I think that's wise. There's a lot of restaurants that have actually closed because of the pandemic, and they only had the availability of a drive-through. So I think the standard model is probably going to these types of drive-throughs, and this particular area, which is the car wash area, I think we're talking about here about the way we're going to amend the code. I think La Mirada is a business-friendly city, as you said, and it does attract other restaurants and businesses to come into the city. So I would agree with Mr. Johnson on that. And I think we should definitely take a look at this, and I'm in favor of this with regards to amending the code as written here, especially to attract new businesses. That La Mirada is business friendly. We want to make sure that we're providing for our restaurants and our businesses in case any pandemic comes through in the future. So I would move this item based on those comments. Okay. That's all I have at this point.
Guys, note any other comments? Councilman Strega.
Thank you. Question regarding the amendment to this proposed ordinance change. What would be the most effective way or efficient way if council did decide to entertain such a thing to get that done? Would it be to table this item, or to just approve it and go through the entire process again for that kind of amendment?
Well, I think it's going to take as much time whether you table this or not, because you got to take that ordinance and start over, and it's a pretty simple ordinance. We heard what it says. I don't know what kind of sequel work would apply to it, if any, but it has to be processed like any other ordinance, which means set it up for planning commission hearing, council hearing, 2 readings, 30-day waiting period, all of that. So that's months away. I don't know that the gentleman who spoke to that wants to see this particular application language. He probably wants this one approved and take his chances with the next one. So yeah, he's shaking his head, yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good. Councilman Drews.
Thank you. Just a comment to Councilmember Lewis's points. Yeah, be business friendly, but also what struck me here is that a modification to the existing code would provide more flexibility for future developments within the city. living in a post-COVID world, yeah, drive-throughs, and you don't know what restrictions and things are going to be put on us in the future. So I think we do have to allow for that, although it is sort of an oxymoron in the sense that with gas prices the way they are, people aren't going to want to go through drive-throughs, if this continues. But we hope this will, abate itself, and I think that approving this is the right move, and I do think that the liquor license issue is a separate issue.
Okay, thank you. I have several. So I'm familiar with this piece of property. It's in the district, and I get a lot of questions about it. Now, the McDonald's that went in there, I don't think there was any issues with the drive-through or anything of that nature, correct?
Correct, there were none. The drive-through is on the inside, it's not the outside.
Correct, it's on the Telegraph side. And this one will be facing the Wicker Drive side, where I believe there's seven residents there, 7 homes there, single-family homes.
Right now, they just have kind of like draft proposals. Yeah, so you would have drive-through lane on the Wicker side and partially on the Telegraph. Wicker Telegraph, the ones we've seen. The final outcome may be substantially different than what we've seen.
Has there been any I mean, I'm surprised no one from Wicker is here to speak to it, but has there been any input or any protests, if you will, from the residents of Wicker about this so far?
No, I would imagine they would be happier than having a car wash right next to them, but
yeah,
this was posted in the newspaper, so we went through the proper noticing procedures. We haven't received any comments or feedback from the community.
Okay.
If I can add one comment also. The item that's before you today is an ordinance, so the way it was notified to the public was through a newspaper publication. The actual proposal for a drive-through facility at this location has not been brought forth yet. Once that is brought forth, then anybody that lives within a 300-mile radius of the subject site.
300 mile?
300 foot.
I'm sorry, 300 miles. That'd be a lot. I want to make sure we didn't miss anyone. Anyone who lives within a 300-foot radius of the subject site will get an actual notice in the mail. So it won't just be in the newspaper. It'll be specific to anyone who lives within that 300-foot radius.
Great, thank you. Just something to add?
And further on the point, so again, this amendment to both the Imperial Highway specific plan and the city code wouldn't apply specifically to this parcel. It would include the parcel, but it would be applied citywide.
Okay. And reading the proposed ordinance, number 2, can you give me an example? It says amendments will not adversely affect surrounding properties. Adversely affect, what standard are we using when we use the word adversely? Do we have a standard for that yet? Number 2, it says proposed zoning ordinance will not adversely affect surrounding properties.
Well,
Page 5.
Yeah, when you take into consideration that the general plan does allow for commercial here, that's what's going to happen. You're not going to end up having a manufacturing plant. That would adversely impact the surrounding because the general plan doesn't allow for that. So I think that's kind of where we're setting our base, is that this is in line with what the general plan and the zoning code has allowed. So you could have a restaurant there. Here you're just having a restaurant with a drive-through, and we have mitigating features in there that are going to reduce any of the visual noise impacts to the surrounding community.
Because I know even going back with the Walmart that's there, I get people with where Walmart, when they're delivering their trucks, they'll leave their trucks idling, and the people who are on that back street there, I guess Walmart built a wall to block it out, but where the trucks are, the trucks sit up higher than the wall, so it kind of defeats the purpose. Yeah. So any kind of insight to that, to thinking like any deliveries or any of that nature, any wall per se would take that into consideration, because I know it was meant well with the neighbor Walmart, but the people along that street back there, I was standing there talking to them, and I said, look, listen, because when their house is raised up a bit, so that it kind of goes way above than what, and it's just, their house was their first, it's a raised foundation, and when the truck's idle, they hear it, and so that's some consideration.
And as part of our conditions of approval, that wall may have been one of the mitigating features to reduce that impact. So had that wall not been put in place, the impact would be greater. So it's not to say that there's not going to be an impact, we just try to reduce those impacts as much as possible.
Well, no, I believe that wall was built with the best intentions, but the wall didn't take consideration the raised foundation house was across the way. Mm-hmm. So from a street level, yeah, it looks great, but when you go to their porch,
it totally defeats purpose. And it's kind of the input like that or consideration to the residents that whatever we put, let's go from their lens, their optic, and look from their front porch and kind of see what are we doing here, just so we're more cohesive.
And in one of the conditions for a drive-through that has the potential to impact, we have a higher wall. So if there are cars idling in the drive-through aisle, those walls will reduce the light glare into, and so we have the requirement that there's a higher wall and that there's additional landscaping when there's the potential to impact adjacent residential.
Okay. Thank you. I need those answers from people asking those questions. I appreciate it. No further. We have a first. Oh, I'm sorry.
Just, I guess one of those landscaping features is like a sloped landscaping, so when the cars are coming through, the sloped landscaping or the wall, you won't even see it if you're on Wicker. The cars going through, you won't even see them. You won't see the lights. You won't hear them. Correct?
Well, the slope landscaping, we're asking for a 3-foot wall with landscaping. I don't think we defined slope landscaping. We do ask for landscaping.
I saw some prior council meeting. I think there was some kind of a...
Their design is that way
design,
because this land at the end of the day may be a little higher, but if you're at level, you may not be required to have that slope landscaping, but there will be landscaping between the wall and the street. So we are asking, and it's gonna, when they submit their proposal, staff works with the applicant to try to get as much landscaping as possible. And those proposals will come your way as well, since these are gonna be all new buildings. They'll require certificate of compatibility, which by the code's requirement necessitates that council approve it. So you will have a chance to look at this when it circulates, and the final approval will be through council, and you can certainly ask for, if it's something that you feel is deficient, we can certainly, make a change at that point or work with the applicant to increase their landscaping on those sites.
So once we pass the ordinance now, then the requirements will be with the developer, and they'll come to planning, and then they'll come to us. Okay. So I'm for it. I'll move this action.
Okay, we have a second? Second. Okay. Roll call, please.
Councilmember DeRusse.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Strega.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Montero.
Aye.
Mayor Ng absent.
Okay.
The add-on.
The add-on?
The add-on.
Oh, we'll bring that up. That's right.
8.3.
8.3, as we see.
Hey, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, members of the council, when this meeting started, we asked you to, and you did add on an item to the agenda to consider approval of a purchase and settlement agreement for a small portion of property that has to do with the street frontage project for Valley View and Alondra intersection. This is a project really of the city of Santa Fe Springs, but when it comes to property acquisition within La Mirada, this council has cooperated to go ahead with the condemnation and other work required to acquire the property. So we have this property, and we have a timeline running out on the city of Santa Fe Springs to use the grant for which they are going to use to pay for this property, and have always intended to do so. And that grant requires that all property required to construct the project be in the lawful possession of Santa Fe Springs at a time very close to now, this month. And so we have brought this to you and asked to add it on instead of waiting 2 more weeks to be sure that this gets processed, and you've done it. This is a very simple settlement agreement. You've got about, I don't know, maybe a quarter of an acre of total property involved. The larger part of that is a temporary construction easement. There is a sliver, maybe a 1/10 of an acre or so, sliver of property for permanent acquisition. So what this settlement agreement does, it settles that. You have the usual waivers and indemnities. You have a price set and an escrow process that is provided for in this agreement. The agreement also refers to a development agreement, knowing the intention of the owner is to process a project under a development agreement with a 7-year build-out requirement that essentially substitutes a new building for the industrial building that's there now. This does not approve that agreement. The development agreement requires zoning ordinance processing, but it is noted that was one of the terms which the owner expects and will get from this council, due consideration of that project when it comes up. So this is simple enough. Unless you have other questions, staff recommends that you approve this purchase and settlement agreement.
Comments, questions? Councilman Srega?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Quick question on that conditions precedent. I noticed the language that basically if any of the buyer's approving bodies, meaning community development, planning, city council, denies the development approvals, either party may upon written notice or to the other immediately terminate this agreement. I'm assuming that would just kind of throw it back in court. Does that do anything with the Measure R funds that are to be assigned?
No, because exempted from that is the fact that you have legal possession of the property now. That can't get flipped. So if something goes wrong with the future process and they want to fight about more money, they can they get a reopener theoretically. So I don't know if they'll want to do that or if that'll come up, but we're just concerned now about getting this agreed upon so you get the grant money and you get possession. They're waiving any further claim to protest the right of possession in the city of Santa Fe Springs.
Thank you.
Councilman Lewis?
I just had a quick question. This is for the Hotspots project for Measure R, for that piece of land, cutting it back and creating a right turn lane like we have over at Starbucks, right?
Yes, similar, for additional turn lanes and other improvements at the Alondra Valley View intersection.
Okay, now, since we're approving this is these 500,000 is coming from Measure R. They can start the project immediately. We don't have to worry about the development project.
As long as they have possession, which is why we're doing this tonight.
Right. So how long until this happens? Do we have any time frame on the Hotspots project?
It'll have to follow the standard. I don't believe it's even gone out for bid.
It will, as this becomes available, goes through tonight, we will go out to bid.
So we'll go out for bid soon. It'll just follow the standard.
6 months to a year by the time you get through it.
About that time frame.
Okay, I'll move this item.
Any other questions, concerns?
Second.
I got first, got second. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Drews.
Aye.
Councilmember Lewis.
Aye.
Councilmember Srega.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Otero.
Aye.
Mayor Eng, absent.
Okay, that concludes that portion. I'm moving on to city council reports and announcements. Start from the left, work our way over. Councilman Drews.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. May 25th was an attendance and sanitation district meeting 18, where we had a public hearing for potential rate increase due to all of the increases in gas and stuff like that. So that will, it was just kind of in conjunction with what you heard earlier. But also May 30th, the Memorial Day event. I want to thank everybody that participated in that. It was just a wonderful event. There was some new elements, things were provided in that. I think it made it much more of a, not just memorable, but it is a memorial, and it just increased the involvement. And I like the fact that the young people were involved because we have to pass this on to them. They have to understand the importance of what these events mean. And so just a shout out to everybody involved, staff and all the community services groups and the VFW and everyone that was involved. Just an excellent event all the way around. And I would just like to commend Mayor Pro Tem for a good meeting tonight and filling in for the mayor. Thank you.
Yes? Councilman Lewis.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Last night I attended the Beautification Awards at the theater with Mayor Pro Tem, who was the MC. It was a great night. We had numerous houses that received outstanding awards for beautification, and we had honorees from different tracks. We had commercial projects, we had churches, so everybody got awarded last night, and we went to go through the photographs, and it's amazing how a honeydew weekend will turn into awards. So don't worry if your wife tells you got to mow the lawn or put some new hedges in. So it's worth it. I know I actually won this in 1997, so it's been a very long time since I've won that.
He hasn't cut his lawn since then.
I feel I should get an award for staying off the code enforcement list for 5 years straight, but that's me. But thanks again for Oliver. There you are. good job on that. It was an excellent night last night. The food was great too. So BT, you were taking notes on the food. So for the, we'll talk about that later. And then coming up on Thursday, we have the summer concerts. This is the first one. We have the farmers market that was moving from Saturdays going over to Thursday starting at 5. So don't hesitate to get over there early, get some farmers market food, and they got the hot food and they got the produce and some of the vendors. So that starts at 5 and the music starts at 6:30. We got a whole summer at the regional park, and then we have what's the other one? Stroll in the Park coming up sometime in the middle of July. So that'll be announced coming up as well. So look forward to the summer concerts, and I know we have a band, the country, coming up.
Not enough.
3rd of July.
Talk to somebody about that.
3rd of July. All right, and last Thursday I attended the Vector meeting. That just means mosquitoes, so you guys need to tip, toss, and take action, as they say with Vector. So toss all your water so you don't have a bunch of mosquitoes coming up. They're all over my house, and I have this light. You can hear the zapping going on all night, but it's better just to tip, toss, and take action. And Memorial Day, I'll echo Councilmember DeRusse. It was a great time and a little bit different this year, and we had a nice Civil War cannon that made really loud noises and a 21-gun salute from the VFW. So excellent time, and that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Our report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Getting my report, the Memorial Day event was obviously something that was a fantastically attended event. I think it's probably the biggest one we've had so far. But just to let you know that, you guys know how those little flags get there? They get planted on the graves. The Scouts do it every year. So the Scouts get there on Friday and they do it, and we combo up with the older boys, with the other troops, and we get the tigers, if you will. They're called Tiger Scouts. And they're 6 years old, so we purposely put the older boys, the younger boys, and the older boys hate it because it's like herding cats and trying to coordinate that. But you get some fantastic pictures of these boys planting the flags of these fallen, and it's truly an honor. It's one of those things where, yeah, if you're involved, you're not going anywhere on the weekend because you attend both. But this year it was awesome. Somebody donated black shirts that were printed up for all the boys who volunteered. And I was passing them out to the boys, and I'm like, yeah, wait till you get to college. We could get a frat. You get shirts for everything, just like this. Keep getting more shirts. But they collected the shirts, and it was an awesome shirt. It was silhouettes of veterans throughout the years, from Revolutionary War all the way to modern day profiles. It was a really cool shirt, and the boys dug them. It was awesome. Parents got them too if they volunteered. Sorry, Jeff, we didn't get you a shirt, but that's all. So that was awesome. VFW played a huge role. Thanks to each of them. The reception afterwards was pretty phenomenal. Those who don't know, Ms. Hahn presented them with a check for $60,000 to the VFW, which was huge for them, to help them continue on what they're doing, the services they offer, as opposed to just camaraderie for our veterans, also hopefully one day too, some services for them as well. Attended the opening day of In the Heights. Forgot about that. In the Heights, it was a fantastic production. It's so encompassing for your eyes that you're almost at a loss. You take it all in. You can't believe what you're watching. The choreography is amazing, to the point where you literally have to watch one dancer, because if you watch them all, you're going to miss so much of it. And their casting for the dancers was fantastic, because it was people of all shapes and sizes. And everyone was doing the exact same thing, and everyone was hitting every mark they were, and it was amazing, because it's like you were watching a real neighborhood. They weren't cookie cutter people. They were people of all shapes, sizes, and everything, just performing. It was truly amazing. Fantastic job. Keep up the great work. And the home beautification reception last night, we went to, like Councilman Lewis mentioned, it was packed. It was a packed house. When I went there for the rehearsal at 10 in the morning, I was like, these are a lot of tables. I'm sure we're going to fill. We filled and then some. We really did. I heard the food was fantastic. I didn't get any. I felt like father of the bride, handling everything between pictures and getting ready for everything, but it was great. Some truly tremendous homes, tremendous community of individuals. You should have heard all the wows and ahs for the most improved home. It's awesome. And I like seeing the fact that some of the homes still maintain the old olive trees that were there, and they still maintain them. One of them had a perfect, it almost looked like, to not be disrespectful, like an afro, if you will. It's perfectly round it was like, how do you cut that? And the gentleman says, oh, my son does it. I'm like, yeah, because I wouldn't want to fall up that ladder for that one. But it's fantastic, a great event to show another example of the community we have here. And it's what we're proud to serve and be here in La Mirada. That's all I have. City Attorney announcements.
No announcements, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. City Manager.
No reports.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.